right, folks, get ready to dive deep into some serious AI magic because today we're tackling the world of building apps with, get this, the help of artificial intelligence.
AI building apps. Sounds like we're diving into the future.
You got that right, because, we always love getting our hands dirty with cutting-edge tech here, and this time we're talking about AI that can whip up actual working apps.
Working apps, like
Yep.
functional, use them in the real world apps.
You better believe it. And the wildest part, all it takes is a simple prompt. Our listener this week went full-on Neo from the Matrix into a platform called Replit, and let me tell you, the stack of info they send over is mind-blowing.
All right, you've piqued my curiosity. What kind of sorcery are we talking about here?
Think of it like this. You've got an idea for an app, right? Instead of wrestling with code for weeks on end, you just tell this AI Replit what you want, and boom, it practically builds it for you.
Hold on. Boom! It practically builds it for you. Are we talking about some futuristic sci-fi movie here, or is this the real deal?
Oh, this is as real as it gets, my friend. And you know what? I'm a little skeptical too, but that's what these deep dives are all about, right? Separating the hype from the truly mind-blowing.
Count me in. So what's got our listeners so fired up about this Replit thing? What kind of apps are we talking about here?
Everything from simple utilities to games, you name it. They even sent over examples of people creating full-blown e-commerce platforms, and let me tell you, it's impressive.
E-commerce platforms, now that's just showing off. So how does it actually work? Do you need to be a coding whiz to even approach this thing?
That's the beauty of it. You don't need to be a coding ninja to get started. But that doesn't mean it's just plug and play either.
Okay, so there's a learning curve. I get it. But you're saying you don't need to be a coding master to build something with this Replit.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing so exciting, right? It's like this whole new world of possibilities is opening up, and you don't need years of coding experience to jump in.
All right, you've convinced me. Let's crack this code and see what Replit is all about.
Let's do it. But first, you've had your expert eyes on all this juicy material our listeners sent over. What jumped out at you? What grabbed your attention?
You know, what's so fascinating about these new AI tools is that they do feel a bit like that classic magic act where something appears out of thin air. But instead of pulling a rabbit out of a hat, people are pulling fully functional apps out of thin air.
Okay, I'm already hooked. Is that what our listener is experiencing too?
Absolutely. They're going from a simple idea to a functional app in the time it takes to, make a sandwich, all with minimal coding, which is mind-blowing.
Minimal coding, maximum app building power. I like the sound of that. Was there a particular app build in all the stuff they sent that really illustrated how this Replit wizardry works? Warts and all? I'm curious about the whole process.
There was one example where a couple of guys were building a pickup line generator. And it's a perfect illustration, because it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies.
Oh, I love when things go a little sideways. It's like watching a cooking show where they burn the first batch of cookies, You learn more from the mistakes.
Yeah, totally. And their experience with Replit had its fair share of, let's call them learning opportunities, but it really highlights both the potential and the limitations of these tools.
Okay, you've got to tell me more. What were they trying to do with this pickup line generator, and how did Replit handle it? Give me the play-by-play.
So they start with a pretty clear prompt.
Okay, so far so good.
Quoting directly from the transcript here, they tell Replit, and I quote, "I want to build a pickup lines app with a blue color scheme with all the elements you see here." And then they show it a screenshot of an existing pickup line app as a reference.
Okay, so they came prepared with a vision board and everything. I like their style. So what happens next? Does Replit just snap its digital fingers and poof, there's a pickup line app ready to go?
Not quite snapping its fingers, but it's pretty close. Replit starts churning away, generating code. We're talking HTML, CSS, the works, and it spits out a basic layout pretty darn quickly.
Okay, so far so good, right? But you said there were learning opportunities, aka things went a little off the rails. When does the AI magic start to get a little messy?
Well, remember those hallucinations we hear about with AI, where it kind of goes off the rails and spits out something totally wrong? Yeah, those definitely pop up in the research our listeners sent.
Oh, right. Wasn't there something about a webhook being generated incorrectly? That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. And it wasn't an isolated incident either. They talked about Replit misinterpreting instructions, generating code that just didn't work. Like, imagine you've got a brilliant but easily distracted intern. You've got to keep a close eye on their work.
AI, the ultimate intern. Got it. But hey, isn't that true of most powerful tools? You got to learn the ropes, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how steep is the learning curve with Replit? Is it something you can pick up over a weekend, or are we talking months of dedicated study?
That's the thing. It's deceptively simple to get started. Like you can whip up a basic app in an afternoon, no problem. But then you try to do something a little more complex, and suddenly you're down a rabbit hole of code trying to figure out why Replit made certain choices.
Okay, so it's got that easy to learn, hard to master thing going on. But is that a Replit-specific issue, or is that just the nature of AI right now, still figuring things out as it goes?
It's a bit of both, actually. On the one hand, Replit is constantly evolving, getting better with each iteration. But there's also this fundamental black box problem with a lot of these AI tools.
Black box problem? That sounds a little ominous. Break it down for me. What's hiding in that box?
Think of it like this. You've got a recipe from a world-renowned chef. It tastes incredible, but the instructions are a bit vague. You can follow them, but you're not quite sure why they chose certain ingredients or techniques. That's Replit right now. You see the code it generates, but the reasoning behind its choices is often a mystery.
So even if the end result works, you might not fully understand why or how to tweak it if something goes wrong. That could be a deal breaker for some folks, especially those who like to have control over every line of code.
That's a really important point, because what this really highlights is that these tools, they aren't here to replace human developers altogether. It's about collaboration, about augmenting human capabilities, not replacing them entirely.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. Tell me more. How do you see Replit fitting into the whole developer landscape? Is it a threat or an opportunity?
It's definitely an opportunity. Think of it this way. Replit handles the tedious, repetitive parts of coding, freeing up human developers to focus on the creative problem solving, the strategic design choices. It's like having an army of AI assistants taking care of the grunt work, so the human developers can focus on the big picture.
Right. It's about leveraging technology to do what it does best. So humans can do what they do best, think creatively, come up with innovative solutions.
And here's the other exciting part, this ability to rapidly iterate and experiment. Instead of spending weeks coding a prototype, tools like Replit let you test out multiple ideas in a day, get feedback, and refine your approach at lightning speed.
Which in the tech world is invaluable. So for our listener who's clearly eager to roll up their sleeves and dive into this world, what are some key takeaways they should keep in mind? What's the TLDR on Replit and AI app builders? So where do we even begin? What's step one for someone who's hearing all this and thinking, all right, I want to try this Replit thing?
Honestly, the best advice I can give is just dive in and start playing around. Replit's got a pretty user-friendly interface, and there's a ton of tutorials and documentation available. Don't be intimidated.
It's like anything else, right? Jumping in is half the battle. But for someone who's totally new to this whole AI-assisted coding thing, where would you even recommend they start?
Start small. Don't try to build the next Facebook overnight. Think about a simple problem you'd like to solve with an app. Maybe it's something that just makes your daily routine a bit easier, or something you've always wished existed but haven't found yet.
So scratch your own itch, basically. Love it. And then what? Just feed that idea to Replit and see what happens.
Pretty much. But here's the key. Be specific. The more details you can give Replit about what you want your app to look like, how it should function, the better the results will be. Think of it as giving clear instructions to a very eager but slightly clueless assistant.
Slightly clueless assistant is the perfect way to describe it. It's powerful, but it needs our guidance. It's like a partnership, right?
Exactly. You're the architect, Replit's the construction crew. You need to provide the blueprints and make sure they're building what you envisioned. Which means, sometimes, you might need to step in and make some adjustments along the way.
Right. Because no matter how good the AI gets, we're still the ones calling the shots, bringing that human creativity and problem solving to the table.
100%. And that's what I find so exciting about this whole shift. AI isn't here to replace us. It's here to empower us, to help us work smarter, not harder.
To free us up to tackle the truly big challenges, the ones that require that human spark of ingenuity. Look at us getting all philosophical about AI. But seriously, folks, that's what these deep dives are all about, exploring the cutting edge of tech and figuring out what it all means for us humans.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. As AI continues to evolve, who knows what incredible tools will emerge and what amazing things we'll be able to create with them.
It's a wild, wild world out there, and it's only getting wilder. But that's what makes it so exciting. And on that note, a huge thank you to you, expert speaker, for breaking down this whole AI app builder thing with us. And an even bigger thank you to our listeners for tuning in and, as always, for asking the thought-provoking questions that spark these incredible conversations. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those minds open to the endless possibilities of the future.